Well, I think a lot of people will be happy to hear this. The Senate has this week voted in favour of investigating why Australians have been dying in excess numbers without explanation over the last few years. And for those who think that the Senate inquiry will just be an anti-vaxxer gabfest, well, think again. Listen to the facts. In 2022, we experienced our highest excess death rate since World War II. The latest data from the Bureau of Stats shows there were 15,114 people, or 10% more deaths than the baseline average in the year to November 2023. And there's nothing wrong with asking the question, why? I'm told the Senate inquiry is a world first for what is a global issue, and it could see the bosses of some of the world's largest pharmaceutical companies hauled in to answer some questions. And by the way, the inquiry was lucky to get up because the Coalition, One Nation and Lydia Thorpe supported the motion. Labor and the Greens opposed it. And all up, the vote was 31-30 in favour of holding an inquiry.
Order. There being 31 ayes and 30 noes, the matter is resolved in the affirmative.
The motion was led by the Senator Ralph Babet from the United Australia Party. It was co-sponsored by David Pocock and Jackie Lambie. Senator Pocock says, I don't accept the conspiracy theories that have featured so heavily in the discourse around COVID-19 and vaccines. However, I do acknowledge there is data showing excess mortality rates that have increased in recent years. Now, the man who moved all of this, Senator Babet from the United Australia Party, is on the line. Ralph, good morning.
Good morning, Ben. It's been a hard slog. I tell you what, my friend, I've bled for this. I have suffered for this. But it's taken me 2 darn years and we're finally here. We're going to find out why our fellow Aussies are dying in larger numbers than ever before since World War II, my friend.
Why do you think it is?
I don't know. And that's the problem. Nobody knows. All we know for sure is that in the last few years, deaths have gone up in a large way, and there is no reason why, as far as we know. Now, it's not COVID. We know that one. It's not all COVID. We've got to get to the bottom of this. We've got to investigate. And, we've got to shed some light into this dark corner of this phenomenon.
When you consider the numbers, and this is not you saying this or me, this is the Bureau of Statistics.
Correct.
And they say there's a 10% increase. Why would the government not support an inquiry? Of course we want to know why.
My friend, I have no idea. It's crazy. The job of the Senate is to investigate these kind of things. The job of the Senate, like I just said, is to cast a light into dark places. And this is a very dark corner of our society right now. Our fellow Australians are dying in larger numbers than we've ever seen since World War II, for goodness sake. At the very least, our parliament should say, hey, there's something to look at here. Let's investigate. We don't know what's happening. Let's figure it out. But I'll tell you this, though, Ben. The committee that's going to investigate this is called the Community Affairs References Committee. There are 6 permanent members of this committee. 3 of those members are from the Liberal Party. 2 are from the Labor Party. And the chair, so the big boss of the committee, is from the Greens. The Labor Party and the Greens voted no to having the inquiry in the first place, and they are half of the members of that committee. So I don't know how I'm going to go, but I'm going to be up against it. I'm going to be pushing back against these people. I'm sure of it. But at least we have the inquiry now. At least we can start the process.
The man you're listening to is Senator Ralph Babet from the United Australia Party, a relative newcomer to our federal parliament. Now, we want to say well done to the Coalition, One Nation, Lydia Thorpe, and also I mentioned it was co-sponsored by Jackie Lambie and David Pocock. David Pocock says, look, there are potential non-vaccine reasons for the higher than normal death rates. This includes people delaying seeing a doctor during COVID. He also says there was also a rise in potentially alcohol-related deaths. So he's got an open mind. Why aren't there more people like David Pocock with an open mind on this issue?
Great question. Great question. The beauty of the Senate is that we don't all have to agree about everything that's in front of us. We've got to have a battle of ideas, and we've got to look at evidence. That's our job. Look at the evidence. And I'm glad at least he wants to take a look, because for the last 2 or 3 years, none of the other senators in that place, or most of them, have not wanted to take a look. They want to sweep things under the carpet. That's what they've wanted to do. It's not okay. It's not how you do things. This is Australia. This is not a communist dictatorship crap hole.
Police will be out in force and you will be stopped and you will be asked and you will need to demonstrate that you are lawfully out.
We have to look at information, we have to process the information, and we have to figure out what's going on. We don't sweep things under the rug here in Australia. If we have a look at the information, we have the inquiry, and we find out that, hey, there's nothing to see here, fine, it is what it is. But if we find out that there is something to see here, then we need to go one step further. Mr. Albanese promised us a Royal Commission. I don't know if your listeners recall that. He promised us a Royal Commission into the COVID times. He's gone back on his word.
It is beyond doubt that you will need an assessment. Whether that be a Royal Commission or some form of inquiry, that will need to happen.
I would have thought that you'd want to do something as soon as practicable.
So much for being a transparent government. But you know what? This is a step in the right direction, Ben.
We always knew with the vaccine that there were going to be side effects. That's the reality, and we've detailed some of those side effects on this radio show, and we've spoken to some of the families who've been impacted by them. Obviously, that will be part of this as well, looking into the vaccines and working out whether they have contributed in some way through the side effects to the excess deaths.
Oh, absolutely. There would have to be at least a part of this which is due to the vaccines. At least a part. How big that part is, we will find out, God willing. But, like I keep saying, it is my job as a senator to represent my constituents. My constituents put me in that big house on the hill predominantly because they were not happy with how the government handled the COVID pandemic. They were not happy with what the government did to them, and they wanted me in there to be their voice. I am their voice. I'm here pushing this issue for them. They put me there, and I want this investigated. I want an answer at the end of this to say, hey, the vaccines were a part of this, or hey, the vaccines were not a part of this, or hey, we don't know, let's investigate more.
When's it going to happen? What's the timeline?
It's already started. So we'll be open for submissions quite soon, probably in the next couple of weeks, where the public can put their submissions in, professionals can put their submissions in, and we're hoping to have a report prepared and released by late August this year. So we're going to move pretty quickly here.
All right, well, we'll talk to you about it throughout the year. I really appreciate you jumping on the line.
Thank you, Ben.
Good man, the United Australia Party Senator Ralph Babet. And it was a close call, as I said, 31-30 in favour of holding an inquiry.